I didn't know his name the first time I saw him. I only knew that he looked at me like I'd stolen something that belonged to him. It was a Tuesday afternoon at the Rossi Gallery, where I worked as an assistant curator. The kind of place where people came to admire art they'd never buy and sip champagne they pretended to understand. I loved it there. The quiet hum of cultured voices, the smell of old canvas and fresh flowers. The way light filtered through tall windows and made everything feel suspended in time. I was standing near the Baroque collection, laughing at something ridiculous my coworker Daniel had just said about a patron's unfortunate fascinator, when I felt it. The weight of a stare. It wasn't casual. It wasn't fleeting. It was deliberate. I turned, still smiling. And that's when I saw him. He stood across the gallery floor, surrounded by 3 men in dark suits. But he might as well have been alone. Tall, broad-shouldered, with black hair swept back and a face that looked like it had been carved from something unforgiving. His suit was charcoal gray, tailored so precisely it seemed like armor. His hands were clasped in front of him, relaxed, but his eyes were locked on me, not on the art, not on the room, on me. My laughter died in my throat. "Earth to Mia," Daniel said, nudging my shoulder. "You okay?" I blinked and looked away, my cheeks flushing. "Yeah, sorry. Just thought I recognized someone." Daniel followed my gaze, but by the time he looked, the man had turned away, speaking quietly to one of the men beside him. They moved toward the exit in a fluid, synchronized motion that felt rehearsed. "Rich guy?" Daniel guessed. "Probably a donor. They all look like that, dead inside but expensive." I forced a laugh, but my pulse was still racing, because it wasn't just the way he'd looked at me. It was the way he'd stopped looking at me like he'd made a decision, and I had no idea what it was. That evening, I took the train home like I always did, my canvas tote bag slung over my shoulder, earbuds in, lost in a playlist that made the city feel softer than it was. I lived in a modest studio in the older part of town, the kind of neighborhood where the rent was just low enough that I could afford it on a gallery assistant's salary. I stopped at the corner deli for milk and bread, waved to Mrs. Chen behind the counter, and climbed the 3 flights of stairs to my apartment. Everything was normal. Everything was fine, until I opened my door and saw the envelope on the floor. It was thick, cream-colored, expensive. No stamp, no address, just my name written in elegant black ink. Mia Delgado. I picked it up slowly, my heart thudding. Inside was a single card, embossed with gold lettering. "You are cordially invited to a private exhibition viewing. Saturday, 8 p.m. The Armory, East Wing. Formal attire required, no RSVP, no sender name, just an address I recognized immediately. One of the most exclusive event spaces in the city. The kind of place I'd only ever read about in society columns. I stood there in my tiny kitchen, holding the card, my mind racing. Who would send this? Why me? And why did my hands tremble as I set it down on the counter? I told myself I wouldn't go. I told myself it was strange, possibly dangerous, definitely inappropriate. But on Saturday evening, I found myself standing in front of my closet, pulling out the one formal dress I owned, a simple black slip dress I bought for a friend's wedding 2 years ago. I curled my hair, applied mascara with shaking hands, and stared at my reflection like I didn't recognize the girl looking back. I took a cab to the Armory. The building loomed against the night sky, all stone and iron and old-world grandeur. A valet opened my cab door before I could second-guess myself. I stepped out onto the red carpet, feeling desperately out of place among the women in couture and diamonds. Inside, the space was breathtaking. Vaulted ceilings, chandeliers, dripping crystal, walls lined with paintings I'd only ever seen in textbooks. Waiters moved silently between clusters of guests, offering champagne and hors d'oeuvres on silver trays. I accepted a glass I didn't want and wandered toward the nearest painting, trying to blend in. That's when I heard his voice. "You came." I turned. And there he was, the man from the gallery. Up close, he was even more overwhelming. Taller than I'd realized, with sharp cheekbones and a jaw that could cut glass. His eyes were dark, almost black, and they held mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. I stammered. "Did you send the invitation?" "Yes." No explanation, no apology, Just that single, confident word. Why? I managed. His gaze didn't waver. Because I wanted to see you again. My pulse hammered. You don't even know me. Not yet. The way he said it sent a shiver down my spine. Before I could respond, one of the men from the gallery appeared at his side, leaning in to whisper something urgent. The man's expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air around him, something cold and dangerous. He looked past me, toward the far side of the room, and his entire body went still. I followed his gaze. Daniel, my coworker Daniel, was standing near the bar, laughing with a blonde woman in a red dress, gesturing animatedly with his champagne glass. When I looked back, the man's jaw was tight, his eyes hard as stone. "Excuse me," he said quietly, and then he walked away, not toward Daniel, toward the exit, followed by every single one of the men in dark suits scattered throughout the room. Within 60 seconds, the event coordinators were ushering confused guests toward the doors, apologizing profusely, explaining that the evening had been cut short due to an unforeseen emergency. I stood there, frozen, as the room emptied around me. Someone had just canceled an entire event, because I'd been standing in a gallery 3 days ago, laughing, with another man. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. The way he'd looked at Daniel, the way the room had emptied like someone had pulled a fire alarm, the way I'd been escorted out by a polite woman in pearls who wouldn't meet my eyes. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. By Monday morning, I'd almost convinced myself I'd imagined the whole thing, until I arrived at the gallery and found my boss, Margaret, waiting for me in her office. "Mia," she said carefully, folding her hands on her desk. "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. "Is something wrong?" "Not wrong exactly." She hesitated. "We've received a rather substantial donation. Anonymous. But it came with a very specific request." I waited. "The donor wants you to personally curate a private collection for his home." My mouth went dry. "Me?" "You." Margaret's expression was unreadable. "It's an extraordinary opportunity, Mia. The kind of commission that could make your career. But I have to ask, do you know who this person is?" I shook my head slowly. She didn't look convinced. "The car will pick you up Wednesday evening," she said. 6 o'clock sharp. The address is confidential. You'll be compensated generously for your time. And if I say no?" Margaret's smile was thin. "Then I suppose we'll lose a 7-figure donation." Wednesday came too quickly. The car was a black SUV with tinted windows and a driver who didn't speak. I sat in the back seat, my portfolio clutched to my chest, watching the city give way to tree-lined estates and gated properties that looked like something out of a movie. We stopped in front of a mansion. Not a house, a mansion. Stone facade, iron gates, gardens that seemed to stretch into forever. The kind of place that whispered old money and older secrets. The driver opened my door. "Miss Delgado," a woman in a crisp black suit greeted me. "This way, please." I followed her through the front entrance, my heels clicking on marble floors. The interior was elegant, but austere dark wood, leather, art that belonged in museums. Everything was expensive. Everything was controlled. She led me to a study lined with books, and stopped at the door. "He'll join you shortly," she said, and left. I stood there, heart pounding, until I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, and there he was. He'd shed his suit jacket. His white shirt was rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms roped with muscle and ink tattoos. I couldn't quite make out in the low light. He looked less polished here, more dangerous. "Miss Delgado." His voice was smooth, dark like smoke. "Thank you for coming. I didn't realize I had a choice." His mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. "You always have a choice. Then why does it feel like I don't?" He stepped closer, and I fought the urge to step back. "What's your name?" I asked, lifting my chin. "Dante." "Just that. No last name. And you want me to curate art for you?" "Yes." "Why me?" His gaze moved over my face slowly like he was memorizing it. "Because you see things others don't." I didn't know what to say to that. He gestured to the room. "I'd like your opinion on what's missing." I blinked. "Missing?" "Everything here was chosen by someone else. I want to know what you would choose." It was the strangest commission I'd ever received, but I found myself walking through the room, studying the pieces on the walls, the sculptures on pedestals, the empty spaces that seemed intentional. "You have beautiful work here," I said carefully, "but it's cold, distant, and what would make it less so?" I paused in front of a blank wall near the window. Something living, a portrait maybe, or a landscape that feels like memory. When I turned, he was watching me with that same unsettling focus. "You don't like being looked at," he observed. My cheeks flushed. "You make it hard not to notice." "Good." The single word hung in the air between us. I swallowed. "I should go." "Not yet." It wasn't a command. But it wasn't a request either. "Why did you leave the event on Saturday?" I asked before I could stop myself. His expression didn't change. "Because I had business elsewhere." "You canceled the entire thing." "Yes." "Because of me." Silence. "Because of the man I was with," I corrected. His jaw tightened. "Just barely. You weren't with him." "He's my coworker, my friend." "I know." The way he said it made my skin prickle. "How do you know?" Dante tilted his head slightly, and for the first time, I saw something beneath the control. Something possessive and raw, because I make it my business to know everything about what's mine. My breath caught. "I'm not yet," he interrupted softly, and then he stepped back, breaking the moment like glass. "My driver will take you home," he said. "I'll be in touch about the collection." I should have argued. I should have run. But all I did was nod and leave. The flowers arrived the next morning, white roses, 24 of them, arranged in a crystal vase so beautiful it looks like it cost more than my rent. The card was simple. "Thank you for your time. D." I stared at them for a long time, something tight and anxious coiling in my chest. Daniel noticed immediately when I arrived at work. "Someone's got an admirer," he teased, leaning against my desk. "Who's the lucky guy?" "No one," I said too quickly. "Just a client. A client who sends roses?" He raised an eyebrow. "Must be some commission." I forced a smile and changed the subject. But the flowers weren't the only thing. Over the next week, small things began to happen. A book I'd mentioned wanting appeared on my desk at work, first edition, pristine condition. My favorite coffee order was waiting for me at the Gallery Cafe one morning, paid for by a friend. And then, on Friday, Margaret called me into her office again. "Mia," she said slowly, "I don't know what you did, but the donor has requested your exclusive consultation. He's offered to triple your salary if you agree to work with him directly." My stomach flipped. What does that mean? "It means you'd be his personal curator. You'd still work here part-time, but your primary focus would be his collection, his estate, his needs." The way she said it made me uneasy. "I need to think about it," I said. Margaret nodded. "He said you'd say that. He also said to tell you that the choice is yours, but he hopes you'll say yes." I didn't answer right away. Instead, I did what I should have done from the beginning. I researched him. Dante Moretti. The name appeared in business journals, society pages, charity galas. Here to the Moretti family empire. Real estate, imports, investments. But beneath the polished surface, there were whispers, rumors of ties to organized crime, allegations that never stuck, witnesses who recanted. He wasn't just wealthy, he was powerful. And I was an idiot. I tried to pull away. I ignored his calls, avoided his messages, told Margaret I needed more time. But on Sunday evening, there was a knock at my door. I opened it without thinking. Dante stood in my hallway, dressed in a dark sweater and jeans, looking impossibly out of place in my shabby building. "You're avoiding me," he said simply. "I'm busy." "You're afraid." I opened my mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. He stepped closer, and I let him. God help me. I let him. "I know what you found," he said quietly. "I know what you think I am. Then you know why I can't do this." "Can't." His gaze held mine. "Or won't. Does it matter?" "Yes." He reached up slowly, giving me time to pull away, and brushed a strand of hair from my face. His touch was gentle. "Revent." "I'm not a good man, Mia," he said. But I've never lied to you, and I never will." "What do you want from me?" I whispered. His thumb traced my cheekbone. "Everything," my heart hammered. "I'm nobody. You're wrong." And then he stepped back, breaking the spell. "I won't force you," he said, "but I won't let you go either. Not unless you look me in the eye and tell me you feel nothing." I couldn't. God, I couldn't. He saw it. I know he did, because he smiled small. Dangerous, devastating. "Good night, Nia." And then he was gone, leaving me standing in my doorway trembling, wanting, terrified. I said yes, not because I wasn't afraid, because I couldn't stop thinking about the way he looked at me. Like I was art he wanted to protect. Like I was something precious in a world that had forgotten how to be gentle. Margaret was thrilled. Daniel was suspicious. I was nauseated. But I showed up at the Moretti estate the following week with my notebooks and my camera and my fragile, foolish hope that maybe this was just a job. It wasn't. Dante was waiting for me in the study, papers spread across his desk, phone pressed to his ear. He looked up when I entered and ended the call without a word. "You came," he said. "You're paying me to." His mouth curved. "Is that the only reason?" I didn't answer. Over the next 2 weeks, I spent hours at the estate, measuring walls, studying light, sketching placements. Dante was there often, working in the same room, silent but present. Sometimes I'd look up and find him watching me. Other times I'd catch myself watching him. It was dangerous. It was intoxicating. And then one afternoon, everything shifted. I was in the gallery hall on the second floor cataloging an oil painting when I heard voices downstairs. Low, tense, angry. I froze. "Don't care what Luca thinks." Dante's voice, colder than I'd ever heard it. "The shipment moves on schedule. Anyone who disagrees can take it up with me personally." "Boss, the Vitals are pushing back. They think we're encroaching. Let them think what they want. We own the port. We own the routes. If they want a war, I'll give them one." Silence. Then footsteps. I pressed myself against the wall, heart racing as Dante climbed the stairs. He stopped when he saw me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "How much did you hear?" he asked quietly. "Enough." He didn't apologize, didn't explain, just looked at me with those dark, unreadable eyes. "Are you afraid of me now?" I should have said yes. I should have run. "I don't know," I whispered. He stepped closer. "I told you what I am, Mia. I won't apologize for it." "I'm not asking you to." "Then what are you asking?" I didn't know. I didn't know anything anymore. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his touch unbearably gentle. "You're safe here," he said. "I swear it." "And if someone disagrees?" I asked, echoing his earlier words. His smile was sharp. "Then they'll regret it." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd ended up here. Wondering when I'd stopped being afraid and started being something else. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Are you awake?" I stared at it for a long moment before typing back. "Yes." The reply was immediate. "Good. I wanted to hear your voice." My breath caught. "Then call me." A minute later, my phone rang. "Hello," I whispered. "You're thinking too much." Dante's voice was low, rough, intimate in the darkness. "How do you know?" "Because I am too." I pulled the blanket tighter around me. "About what?" "About the fact that you're not here." My heart squeezed. "Dante, I know," he interrupted softly. "I know it's too much, too fast, but I can't." He stopped. Exhaled. "I've never felt this before." "Felt what?" "Like I'd burn the world down to keep you safe?" I closed my eyes, something breaking open inside me. "You scare me," I admitted. "I know, but not the way I should be scared." Silence. "That scares me more," I whispered. "Mia." The way he said my name was unbearable. "I need you to understand something." "What?" "I've done things I can't take back. I've hurt people. I'll hurt more. But I will never, never let anyone hurt you." Tears pricked my eyes. "You can't promise that. Watch me." And in that moment, I believed him. God help me. I believed him. Everything changed the day I saw the photographs. I was working in Dante's study, comparing fabric swatches when his phone rang. He stepped out to take the call, leaving his tablet on the desk. It lit up with a notification. I shouldn't have looked, but the preview image caught my eye. It was me, leaving my apartment, walking to the train. Sitting in the gallery cafe, my blood turned cold. When Dante returned, I was standing, holding the tablet with shaking hands. "You've been following me," I said. He didn't deny it. "How long?" "Since the gallery." My stomach churned. Why? Because the moment I saw you, I knew you'd be a target. A target for what? His jaw tightened. "For anyone who wants to hurt me." The room tilted. "I didn't ask for this," I whispered. "I know." He crossed to me slowly. "But it doesn't matter. You're already in it." "Then let me go." "No." The finality in his voice made me flinch. "You don't own me, Dante." "Not yet." He reached for me, but I stepped back. "Don't." Something flickered in his eyes, pain maybe, or regret. But his expression remained controlled. "Someone broke into your apartment last week," he said quietly. I froze. "What?" "They picked your lock, went through your things, took nothing. They were looking for something, or sending a message." My knees went weak. "I've had someone watching you since," he continued. "But it's not enough. I need you here, where I can protect you. You want me to move in with you?" "Yes." "That's insane." "It's necessary." I laughed, but it sounded broken. "I don't even know you. Then get to know me." He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "Stay. Let me keep you safe, and decide for yourself what I am." "And if I say no?" "Then I'll have you watched, guarded, followed everywhere. You'll never have a moment alone." "Is that what you want?" Tears burned behind my eyes. "I want my life back. I can't give you that." His hand lifted, hovering near my face but not touching. "But I can give you this. Safety. Honesty. Whatever you need. Except freedom. I'm not keeping you prisoner, Mia. I'm keeping you alive." I moved into the Moretti estate 3 days later, not because I wanted to, because I had no choice. They gave me a room in the East Wing, beautiful, spacious, with a view of the gardens, my own bathroom. A walk-in closet that was bigger than my entire apartment. It felt like a cage made of silk. Dante kept his distance at first. We had dinner together sometimes, quiet meals where he asked about my day and I gave short, careful answers. He never pushed, never demanded, but I felt him everywhere, in the way the staff moved around me, protective and watchful. In the fresh flowers that appeared in my room each morning, in the way I'd catch him standing in the hallway at night, just watching. Like he was making sure I was real. 2 weeks passed, and slowly, impossibly, I began to relax. I worked on the collection during the day. Dante worked in his study. Sometimes I'd bring him coffee and he'd look up at me like I'd given him something priceless. Other times I'd find him in the library late at night, reading. He'd pat the seat beside him and I'd sit and we'd exist in comfortable silence. It was domestic. It was dangerous, because I was starting to forget why I'd been afraid. One evening I found him on the terrace, staring out at the city lights. "Can't sleep?" I asked. He glanced over. Never can. I joined him at the railing, wrapping my cardigan tighter against the night air. "Do you regret it?" I asked quietly. "What?" "The life you've chosen." He was silent for a long time. "Every day," he finally said. I looked at him, surprised. "But I can't change it," he continued. "I was born into this. My father, his father. It's in my blood, and if I walk away, everything I've protected falls apart." "What are you protecting?" "My family. My people. The ones who depend on me." He turned to face me. "And now you." My chest tightened. "I don't need protecting," I said. "Yes, you do." His hand lifted, brushing my cheek. "Because the moment you walked into that gallery, you became the most dangerous thing in my world." "Why?" "Because you're the only thing I can't afford to lose. The confession hung between us, raw and aching. I should have stepped back. Instead, I leaned into his touch. "Dante," I whispered. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. "Tell me you don't feel this." I couldn't. His thumb traced my lower lip, and I trembled. "I shouldn't want you," he said hoarsely. "You're everything. I'm not. Light where I'm dark. Soft where I'm broken." "Maybe that's why," I breathed. His control fractured. He pulled me against him, his hand sliding into my hair, tilting my face up. Our eyes locked. "If I kiss you," he said, voice rough, "I won't be able to let you go. Then don't." It was barely a whisper, but it was enough. His mouth claimed mine, slow, deep, devastating. I gasped against him, and he swallowed the sound, his other arm banding around my waist, pulling me impossibly closer. I'd never been kissed like this. Like I was oxygen. Like I was surrender. When he finally pulled back, we were both shaking. "Go inside, Mia," he said, voice strained. "Why?" "Because if you stay, I won't be able to stop." I looked up at him, at the hunger and restraint warring in his eyes. "And I made my choice. Then don't stop." He kissed me again, slower this time, deeper. His hands framed my face like I was something breakable, even as his mouth devoured mine. I felt the tremble in his fingers, the restraint in every touch. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. "Not like this," he murmured. "Not when you're confused. Not when you might regret it." "I won't. You don't know that." His thumb stroked my cheek. "And I won't take the chance. It should have frustrated me. Instead, it made me feel cherished." "Then what do you want?" I whispered. "Everything," he said. "But only when you're sure." The next few days were torture. We orbited each other, the tension between us thick enough to taste. Every accidental touch felt deliberate. Every shared glance lingered too long. I caught him watching me while I worked. He caught me staring during dinner. Neither of us acknowledged it, until the night I couldn't sleep and wandered downstairs only to find him in the kitchen, pouring whiskey with shaking hands. "Bad night?" I asked softly. He looked up, and for the first time, I saw past the control. He looked exhausted. "Someone made a move tonight," he said quietly. "Tried to hit one of my warehouses." My stomach dropped. "Are you okay?" "I wasn't there." He took a drink. "But 3 of my men were." "Dante, they're fine," he interrupted, but it was close. I crossed the kitchen and took the glass from his hand, setting it aside. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Keeping you from drinking alone." His laugh was bitter. "You should be upstairs, away from me." "Why?" "Because tonight I'm the monster they say I am." I looked at him, really looked, at the blood on his knuckles, the tension in his shoulders, the shadows under his eyes. "You're not a monster," I said. "You don't know what I did." "Then tell me." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he told me. About the man who'd ordered the hit, about the choice he'd made, about the message he'd sent. He didn't spare me the details. And when he was done, he waited. For judgment. For fear. Instead, I reached for his damaged hand and cradled it in both of mine. "Does it hurt?" I asked. He blinked. "That's what you're worried about?" "Yes." Something broke in his expression. He pulled me against him, burying his face in my hair, his arms tight around me. "I don't deserve you," he whispered. "Maybe not." I held him tighter. "But you have me anyway." We stood there in the dark kitchen holding each other, and for the first time, I understood. I wasn't falling for the powerful Mafia boss. I was falling for the man beneath the armor, the one who carried the weight of impossible choices, the one who was terrified he'd break me. The next morning, I found a note on my pillow. "I need to go away for a few days. Stay here. Stay safe. I'll come back to you. I promise. T." He didn't call, didn't text. For 3 days, I existed in limbo, working on the collection, wandering the estate, trying not to imagine the worst. On the 4th day, he returned. I heard the cars in the driveway, heard the voices, heard the door to his study slam. I found him there, standing at the window, still wearing his coat, looking like he'd aged years. Dante. He turned, and the look on his face shattered me. "It's done," he said hoarsely. "What's done?" "The threat. The family that's been circling. It's over." I should have asked how. I should have asked what it cost. But all I did was cross the room and wrap my arms around him. He sagged against me, his face pressed to my shoulder, and I felt the tremor run through him. "I'm so tired, Mia," he whispered. "I know. I'm so fucking tired." "Then rest." I pulled back and cupped his face. "I'm here. You can rest." His eyes searched mine, and then he kissed me, not with restraint, not with control, with need. He kissed me like he was drowning, like I was air. His hands slid into my hair, tilting my head back, and I gasped against his mouth. He walked me backward until my spine met the wall, his body pressing against mine, solid and warm and overwhelming. "Mia," he breathed, "tell me to stop." "No." His control shattered. His mouth moved to my neck and I trembled, my fingers clutching his shoulders. Every touch was deliberate, worshipful, like he was memorizing me. "We should." I started, but he silenced me with another kiss. "Upstairs," he murmured against my lips. "I'm not doing this here." He lifted me effortlessly, and I wrapped my legs around his waist, clinging to him as he carried me through the halls. I didn't care that the staff might see. Didn't care about anything except the way he looked at me, like I was salvation. He shouldered open the door to his bedroom, a space I'd never entered, and set me down gently on the massive bed. For a moment, he just stood there, looking at me. "You're shaking," I whispered. "So are you." I was. God, I was trembling all over. He knelt between my legs, his hands resting on my thighs, his eyes locked on mine. "Are you sure?" he asked, voice rough. I nodded. "Say it," he demanded softly. "I need to hear you say it." "I want this," I whispered. "I want you." His eyes closed briefly, like I'd given him absolution. Then he leaned in and kissed me again. Slow, deep, perfect. His hands moved to the hem of my sweater, and he paused, waiting. I lifted my arms and he pulled it over my head, tossing it aside. His gaze raked over me, and I fought the urge to cover myself. "Beautiful," he murmured. "So fucking beautiful." He kissed my collarbone, my shoulder, the swell of my breast above my bra. I arched into him, overwhelmed, and he made a low sound in his throat. "Slowly," he said more to himself than me, "I'm going to take my time with you." And he did. Every touch was gentle. Every kiss was reverent. He explored me like I was something precious, and I came apart in his hands, gasping his name, trembling with need. When he finally moved over me, his weight settling between my thighs, I looked up at him. His expression was raw, unguarded. "I don't know how to be gentle with anything," he said hoarsely, "but I'll try. For you, I'll try." I reached up and cupped his face. "Then be yourself. I want you." He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, there was something broken and beautiful in his gaze. "You undo me," he whispered. And then he kissed me. And made me his. Afterward, we lay tangled together, my head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on my spine. "I've never..." I started, then stopped. "Never what?" I hesitated. "Felt like this." His arms tightened around me. "Like what?" "Safe," I whispered, "even when I shouldn't be." He was quiet for a long time. "You are," he finally said. "With me, you always will be." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But the world he lived in didn't make promises it could keep. I woke alone. The bed beside me was cold, and panic flared before I saw the note on the pillow. "Downstairs. Didn't want to wake you." I dressed in one of his shirts. It fell to mid-thigh, and padded downstairs barefoot. I found him in the study, on the phone, his voice low and dangerous. "I don't care what it takes. Find him, and when you do, bring him to me." He hung up and looked over, his expression softening when he saw me. "Morning," he said. "What's wrong?" He hesitated. "Nothing you need to worry about." Dante. He sighed, setting the phone aside. Someone's asking questions. About you. About us. My blood went cold. Who? I don't know yet, but I will. I crossed to him and he pulled me into his lap, his face buried in my neck. I won't let anyone touch you, he murmured. I swear it. I know. But the fear lingered, because in his world, promises were made in blood, and I was terrified of what he'd do to keep his. The threat came 2 days later. I was in the garden, sketching placements for a sculpture, when I heard the gunshots. Distant, sharp, unmistakable. I dropped my pencil and ran toward the house. Dante's men were everywhere, moving with military precision, weapons drawn. One of them caught me at the door. Inside, Miss Delgado. Now. Where's Dante? Safe. Go. But I didn't. I pushed past him, running through the halls, heart pounding, until I found him in the main corridor. He was covered in blood. Dante! I screamed. He spun, and relief flashed across his face. Maya, get back. But I'd already reached him, hands shaking as I searched for the wound. Where are you hurt? Dante. Where? It's not mine. He grabbed my wrists, his grip firm. It's not mine, Tesoro. I'm fine. I sagged against him, and he caught me, holding me tight. What happened? I choked out. Someone got inside. His voice was lethal. They didn't get far. Are they dead? No hesitation. No regret. Yes. I should have been horrified. Instead, I just held him tighter. Because he was alive. He was alive, and that was all that mattered. They locked down the estate. No one in, no one out. Dante disappeared into his study with his men, and I was left in the library with a guard at the door and too many questions. Hours passed. When he finally returned, it was well past midnight. I was curled in the armchair by the fire, and he stopped in the doorway just looking at me. You should be asleep, he said quietly. So should you. He crossed the room and knelt in front of me, resting his head in my lap. I ran my fingers through his hair, and he exhaled like I'd given him peace. Tell me, I whispered. It was a rival family, he said. The Vitals. They'd been pushing for months. Tonight they made their move. And I ended it. I didn't ask how. What does that mean for us? I asked instead. He looked up at me. It means you're safer now than you were this morning. And tomorrow, I'll make sure you're safer still. Dante, I know what you're going to say. He stood, pulling me to my feet. That this is too much, that you didn't sign up for this, that you should leave. I wasn't going to say that. He stopped. What? I was going to ask if you're okay. Something cracked in his expression. He pulled me against him, and I felt him tremble. I thought they'd get to you, he whispered. For 10 minutes, I thought. But they didn't. But they could have. His hands fisted in my shirt, and if they had, if I'd lost you, you didn't. I won't. His voice turned hard. I won't lose you, Mia. I'll burn this entire city down before I let that happen. I believed him. God help me. I believed every word. That night, he didn't let me out of his sight. We lay in his bed, tangled together, and he held me like I might disappear. I'm still here, I whispered. I know. I'm not going anywhere. His arms tightened. Promise me. I promise. It was a foolish thing to say, a dangerous thing, but I meant it, because somewhere between fear and fascination I'd fallen, and there was no going back. The morning after the attack, Dante sat me down in his study. I need you to understand something, he said. I waited. This life, what I do it, doesn't end. There will always be another threat, another family, another move to make. I know, and if you stay, he looked at me with devastating honesty. You'll be part of it, forever. There's no going back. My heart hammered. Are you asking me to leave? I'm giving you the choice I should have given you from the beginning. I stood, crossing to him, and took his face in my hands. I choose you, I said simply. Mia, I choose you, I repeated. Not because I'm naive, Not because I don't understand, but because I'd rather face this with you than be safe without you. His eyes closed. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. I've killed for you. His voice broke. I'll kill again. I'll do things that will make you hate me. Then I'll hate you, I said, but I'll still stay. He stared at me like I'd destroyed him, and then he kissed me. Hard. Desperate. Like I was the only thing keeping him tethered to humanity. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. You're mine, he whispered. Yes. Say it. I'm yours, I breathed. Completely. And I meant it. The weeks that followed were strange, quiet, but heavy with the knowledge of what had happened. What could happen again? Dante was different, more protective, more present. He taught me how to shoot, how to hold a gun, how to aim, how to survive. I won't always be there, he said. You need to know how to protect yourself. I hated it. But I learned, because this was my life now, and I'd chosen it. One evening, he took me into the city, to a small, quiet restaurant with dim lighting and soft music. We ate pasta and drank wine, and for a few hours we were just us. Not the Mafia boss and the girl he'd claimed. Just Dante and Mia. I want to show you something, he said as we left. He drove us to the waterfront, where the city lights reflected on the dark water. This is where I used to come, he said quietly. Before, when I needed to think. It's beautiful. It's the only place I felt free. I looked at him and he smiled small, sad, real. I don't come here anymore, he said, but I wanted you to see it. Why? Because you're my freedom now. My throat tightened. He pulled a small box from his coat pocket. Dante. It's not what you think, he interrupted. Not yet anyway. He opened it. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet, inset with a single diamond. It has a tracker, he said. So I'll always know where you are, so I can always find you. Most women would have been horrified. I just held out my wrist. He fastened it carefully, his fingers lingering. You're insane for staying, he murmured. I know, I'll probably get you killed. Maybe. And you still want this. I want you, I corrected. He pulled me against him and we stood there by the water, holding each other. And for the first time in my life, I felt whole. 3 months later, the threats had lessened, not disappeared. They never would. But Dante had consolidated power, made alliances, eliminated rivals. The Moretti name meant something again, and I was part of it. We fell into a rhythm. I finished the collection. Started taking on other clients wealthy, connected, dangerous. Dante's world became mine. I learned the rules, the players, the games. And I learned that love in this world wasn't soft, it was survival. The night everything changed started like any other. Dante had a meeting. I was in the library reading. When he returned, he found me curled in the window seat, and he crossed the room without a word, pulling me into his arms. Marry me, he said. I blinked. What? Marry me. His eyes were fierce. I know it's fast. I know it's insane, but I want you to be mine, legally, completely, in every way that matters. My heart stuttered. Dante, I'm not asking you to answer now, he interrupted. I'm just asking you to think about it. I don't need to think about it. He went still. Mia, yes, yes, yes. I repeated, smiling through tears. Yes, I'll marry you. The look on his face was worth everything. He kissed me like I'd just given him the world. And maybe I had. We were married 6 weeks later. Not a big wedding. Just us, his most trusted men, and a priest who asked no questions. I wore a simple white dress. He wore a black suit. And when he slid the ring onto my finger, I felt the weight of it. Not just the gold, but the promise, the danger, the choice. You're mine, he whispered as we kissed. And you're mine, I whispered back. Life as Dante Moretti's wife was nothing like I'd imagined. It was harder, more isolating, but it was also fuller than anything I'd known. He was ruthless with his enemies and gentle with me. He killed without hesitation and held me like I was breakable. He was a monster and a man, and I loved both. But the danger never truly left. 6 months after the wedding, a new threat emerged. A family from the south, ambitious, brutal. They wanted what Dante had, and they were willing to take it. One night, Dante came home with blood on his hands and fury in his eyes. "We're leaving," he said. "What?" "The estate. The city. Just for a while." "Dante, what happened?" "They took one of my men," he said. "Tortured him, sent me a message." My blood went cold. "What kind of message?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. I saw it in his eyes. They threatened me. We left that night. To a house in the mountains. Remote. Secure. Beautiful. For 2 weeks we existed in isolation. No phones. No meetings. No world outside the walls. Just us. We cooked together. Read together. Made love by the fire. And I saw a side of him I'd never seen before. Relaxed. Almost peaceful. "I could get used to this," I said one evening. He smiled. "So could I." "Then why don't we?" His smile faded. "Because it's not who I am. It could be. No." He pulled me into his lap. "I've made my choices to sorrow, and I'll live with them. But I won't drag you down with me." "You're not dragging me anywhere," I said. "I'm here because I want to be. Even knowing what I am because of what you are." He looked at me like I'd broken him. And then he kissed me. And I tasted salt. He was crying. Dante Moretti, Mafia boss, killer, king was crying. And I held him through it. We returned to the city a week later. The threat had been handled. Quietly. Permanently. I didn't ask how. I'd learned not to. But I knew the cost. I saw it in the new lines on his face. The shadows under his eyes. The way he held me tighter now. Like I was the only good thing he had left. 1 year after we met, I stood on the terrace where he'd first kissed me. The city sprawled below, glittering and dangerous. Dante came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Regret it yet?" he murmured. "Every day," I lied. He laughed, and I leaned back against him. "I'm pregnant," I said quietly. He went rigid. "What?" "I'm pregnant." I turned to face him. 8 weeks. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then he dropped to his knees and pressed his face to my stomach. "Dante." "I don't deserve this," he whispered. "I don't deserve you. Or this. Maybe not." I ran my fingers through his hair. "But you have us anyway." He looked up at me, and I saw it. Fear. Wonder. Love. "I'll protect you both," he said hoarsely. "I swear it, no matter what it costs. I know." And I did. Because that's who he was. A man who would burn the world for the ones he loved. And I'd chosen to love him anyway. Epilogue. They say love in the darkness never lasts, that it burns too bright and consumes itself. Maybe they're right. But 6 years later, I'm still here. Still his. Still choosing him every day. Our daughter has his eyes and my smile. Our son has my softness and his strength. And Dante is still the monster they whisper about. Still the man who makes hard choices. Still the king of a world I'll never fully understand. But he's also the man who reads bedtime stories with our children. Who holds me in the dark when the nightmares come. Who built me a gallery in the East Wing where I curate beauty in a world of blood. Is it perfect? No. Is it safe? Never. But it's ours. And I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I learned something the day I walked into that gallery and saw him watching me. Love isn't always soft. Sometimes it's sharp, dangerous, dark. But if you're brave enough to hold it, it will hold you back. Even when the world tries to tear you apart. Even when the monster shows his teeth. Even when the ending isn't clean. It will hold you, and that is enough.